It's the Full Court Press with Eric Frandsen and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interviews.
There's going to be much higher expectations, sense of awareness of what we bring to the table.
Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends it, caught, touchdown, did he get it?
Well, this is a special edition of the Full Court Press. No live phone calls or texts during this special edition podcast.
It's the Full Court Press podcast.
Yes.
Here on 1069thefan.com. Technically still the 1069 The Fan mobile app.
Yes.
You can still find it there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not streaming live on either of those platforms. Of course, you can obviously get it wherever you get your podcasts. We're on all the usual platforms there. So, yeah, I can't be here live, but we are still here.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to extreme weather in Buffalo, the game between the Bills and the Steelers, which was supposed to take place over the weekend, got moved to today, Monday afternoon, and part of another doubleheader. It was an NFL doubleheader on Saturday that we had here on on the Fan. It was a doubleheader on Sunday that we had on the Fan, and it's a doubleheader on Monday. And those games will be broadcast live on the Fan. But to go through our regularly scheduled time that we are on the air for the Full Court Press. But rather than just take the day off and just try to recap everything on Tuesday, it was such a big weekend. There's no way we could not do something to react to what happened for Utah State on multiple levels. You had this incredible basketball game in Las Vegas on Saturday. Utah State alum Jordan Love balling out in Dallas. And we had great basketball games in high school on Friday night, a triple overtime game that you were able to call, Jason. So just too many awesome things to get through and discuss that we needed to put together a pod and get to those topics. But certainly the biggest of them all, Utah State's win over UNLV on Saturday afternoon in Las Vegas. Controversial if you're in Las Vegas or in other places around the Mountain West, but certainly exuberant for Utah State fans the way that game concluded, and Aggies get the win. Their only lead is on the last free throw of the game that puts them ultimately in the lead to win the game.
Yeah, they were down for, I think, about 30 seconds or so, and I think UNLV might have hit their first bucket with like 19-20. I'm thinking 19-12 left in the first half because they had their first possession. They had like 3 offensive rebounds, and they made a shot. And from that point until 8.4 seconds left in the game, I think it came up to about 39 minutes and change. UNLV led. The Aggies never tied until 86 or 85. I suddenly can't remember the final score exactly. Problem is they had 2 scores over the weekend of games I was covering. They ended with very similar scores. So I can't keep them straight in my head. But
86-86 is when it would have been tied. Yeah.
Okay, 86. So that was the first tie aside from 0-0. And, yeah, it was an insane thing because, like, I'm watching the game and just think Utah State, they're getting outplayed the entire night. The Aggies didn't play horrible. Their main problem was on defense. They did pretty well on offense. I mean, they had 40 points in the first half. You get 87 the entire game in regulation. That's a pretty good offensive outing for you. Obviously, the problems are on defense. They have 86 points. That's the most I think they've given up all year. I think Southern Utah was the only other game where they allowed anywhere close as much, and that was one that set Danny Sprinkle off.
You're right.
He was not happy with his team at that, and he wasn't happy about this game against UNLV either. I actually had a chance to talk to him earlier today. We'll have that audio tomorrow when we're previewing New Mexico, but he obviously wasn't happy with the defensive effort against UNLV, but you end up giving yourself a chance to win, and that's kind of the mantra for the Aggies. They always give themselves a chance to win, and in all but one occasion this year, they've found some way to end up with the victory, and it's been a close ride in some of these games, but this one is as crazy as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, in the first half, really, you only had Ian Martinez and Josh Aduje who had made more than one field goal. Everybody else had either made only one field goal or no field goals. Those are the only two guys who were making buckets. And thank goodness Ian Martinez has a monster night from beyond three, the three-point line, to keep the Aggies in it in the first half. But you know what? This is kind of the hallmark of this team, is that they never really fold. They're mentally tough in ways that we haven't seen a lot of teams do this, where they just never really go away. They never really fold. They keep fighting and stay in it. A couple stretches there in the second half, after being down, they were able to kind of crawl their way back into it. Got it within 4. At one point, got it within 3. And then like that, UNLV would answer, and it's a 6-point, 7-point game again. It's like, they're just never going to break through. But they were relentless in continuing to attack, and Great Osibor in the second half was fantastic.
Yeah, it was Ian Martinez in the first half, Great Osibor in the second half, and obviously other guys making big plays. You mentioned Aduje having some crucial buckets. Darius Brown, who kind of got overlooked on that play because everyone's thinking of Osibor hitting the free throws to take the lead, win the game, and obviously had the 24 points to lead the Aggies. And you have Ian Martinez setting his career high with 6 3-pointers. But Darius Brown, I guess he was involved in both controversial plays, kind of on the outside, because there was the Mason Falslev out of bounds where it looked like it went off him. I never really got a look for me to understand what the referees were seeing.
It looked obvious it was off of Mason.
Yeah, like my only thought there was maybe, like, the initial call had to have been they thought the UNLV player hit it out of Mason's hands. I was like, that has to be what he called initially. When I looked back, and mind you, a lot of the times I was looking at it on smaller screens, I'm trying to squint and see, like, where's the UNLV guy's hands? And I guess, like, maybe, but it looked like the guy's hand was hitting Mason's arm, which is a foul, but referee can't call that. So unless he's deciding to bend the rules really hard, that I've never seen a referee do that. I've seen the most obvious situations where the guy smacked the guy's hand, but it's out of bounds, and so they give it to the guy that, the team that, they call it off the team at last touch, even though there's an obvious foul, because that's the rule. So I don't know. Referees were just trying to play fair here.
Unless it was, they felt like it was a makeup call.
Yeah, which they've never done that, and
they don't normally do in college.
Yeah.
They do it in the NBA, but they don't often do that.
Well, in the NBA,
college.
they can do a full review, and they get to decide what happened.
Yeah, that's true too.
In the NCAA, as far as I know, they can't do that. So like that's where it's like I still don't know what happened. Everyone felt like it went off Mason. Mason probably thinks it went off him.
Well, yeah, they would show clips of the shots of the sideline. Aggies are huddled together. Everybody's tapping Mason like, hey, it's okay, man. And he's like shaking his head like, I'm sorry, guys.
Yeah.
And he's looking despondent. And then the call gets, yeah, it's Aggie ball. And
yeah.
like, oh.
It's like, all right, we got it. And then Darius hits
Okay.
the three-pointer. They go down 83-80. That's a massive swing there. And then, yeah, that last play there for the Aggies, where I guess technically second to last play, but Darius drills another clutch three-pointer. Like, he had the 2 most clutch shots of the game.
Yes, that's true. His only 2 threes came in those clutch situations.
And I realized at the end of my article, like I was done with, I was like, oh, yeah, Darius had like 2 most clutch shots. Maybe I should talk about him? So I didn't mention it, but obviously a big part of my story was kind of telling the story of that. I led with the moments with Osibor hitting his free throws, because those are the game-winning free throws. But yeah, Darius hitting those 2 clutch shots. Osibor, obviously, the entire second half, scoring, I think, 20 points in the second half. He has 4 at halftime. It's like he wasn't really impacting the game. But I think something that Coach Sprinkle actually mentioned today is he felt like Ian, having that first half, changed the way New Mexico played, and that allowed Osibor to dominate inside, which is what we've been wanting to see from the Aggies all years. Hit shots from outside, and they're not going to triple team Osibor inside because they won't be able to afford to.
Yeah.
So that allowed him to play a little more free, attack, draw free throws. He was hitting a bunch, but I think the Aggies missed 1 free throw the entire night.
2.
Oh, 2? Okay.
23 of 25. And that's really – there was a pretty big free throw disparity in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think it was because the refs were favoring UNLV, just their style of play versus USU's style of play, and they were making it tough.
It's because UNLV was just playing better.
Yeah.
They were getting all the shots they wanted at the rim. The Aggies weren't being aggressive in trying to draw fouls. So UNLV, their aggression and their good play, the Aggies weren't defending very well, and a lot of that bad defense turned into fouls. So, and then in the second half, Utah State was forcing fouls off of UNLV. So I think the free throw disparity ended up being fairly even by the end of the game. I think UNLV had 30. The Aggies had, we said 25.
Yeah, 30 to 25.
So it was pretty close by the end because the Aggies did better on offense in the second half in drawing fouls, and they slowed down, I think they allowed 23 free throws in the first half, so obviously a lot better in the second half there. So yeah, just playing better. I guess I don't know if they ever really fixed anything on defense because they still allow 39 points in the second half, but it was just barely enough.
Yeah, there was Utah. There was a big discrepancy in free throws and rebounds in that first half. UNLV was getting the rebounds; they were getting to the free throw line. Utah State was struggling at that. A concern that we'd had going into this game is that UNLV is a little bit bigger. Utah State will need to go with a bigger lineup. They've had success with smaller lineups, but they still had success with bigger lineups. They've only lost the one game earlier in the year, so we can't say that they've failed with bigger lineups, but they don't seem to have the same level of efficiency with the bigger lineups.
Yeah, they struggled against, San Francisco, who had a bit of bigger lineup, Santa Clara.
Yep.
And obviously Bradley as well. So partly because this is a team that starts 3 guys that are 6'3" and shorter. They have some big guys, but they're playing a lot of guards.
Yes.
And so it can be a little tricky keeping those guys out of the paint. If you have longer, smaller forwards and shooting guards, it could be trickier for them to guard them, even though athletically the Aggies match up in quickness, but that size can be a struggle.
Yeah, but I just felt like Utah State, even though they were constantly playing from behind, they were a little bit more aggressive in trying to force the actions. And certainly Asabor is a big part of that, putting more pressure on their interior defense, forcing them to foul him, getting to the free throw line a lot more, and just never giving up, really. That was a big key, just never giving up, continuing to fight, just hoping that some way something's going to happen to help the Aggies get over the top. And that was a crazy, crazy way to get that to make that happen. But that wasn't the first time Utah State made a shot and somebody else got fouled away from the ball.
Yeah, it happened in the first half.
A bigger single possession. So it was kind of a weird game that way that you don't always see that.
Yeah, it's something they've called a little more often in recent years. They used to never call it. I think it used to wipe away the shot sometimes. But now it's a, shot plus. In the earlier case, the Aggies just got the ball. In this case, it's because they were in the bonus. Osborne goes to the free throw line. But yeah, it happened in the first half. I forget the exact circumstance, but I think it was on a made three-pointer by Martinez, if I'm not mistaken. I haven't gone back to the play-by-play to double-check. I just remember it did happen in the first half. But yeah, obviously for UNLV, they were not happy about it. To be honest, I felt they focused a lot more on that foul on Asabor, which, for all the controversial calls, that one seemed a lot more obvious as far as it actually being a foul. And there was one angle I ended up seeing, and maybe I should have saved the video. It was somebody on the ground level. It may have been an alternate broadcast view, but it showed pretty clearly. I think it was Caleb Boone, moves in, because on the TV angle, it looks like Boone is just kind of standing there, and Osborne runs into him, bounces off, and falls. But the other angle is watching. It's pretty clear he's moving into him, arms out,
Totally hip checks him.
Yeah, hip checks him, a little bit of arm as well. Pretty clear foul. And Osborne got hit pretty hard. He said he thought he tackled him. And it's not easy to throw him to the ground. He's a big guy. So, to me, that was pretty obviously a foul. I don't know if I'd be super happy about calling it. I mean, a couple years back, we're talking about that St. Mary's game where Justin Bean commits a foul on a rebound, where we all thought that was pretty soft. Not too dissimilar situations. You can argue, you can split hairs on exactly which one, but it was the Aggies thought they got hosed on that one.
Yeah.
And UNLV thinks they got hosed on this one.
Yeah, and UNLV and others throughout Mountain West that were following the game thought it was a phantom foul, one that shouldn't have been called. But you hip check a guy, send him to the floor, and you hit him hard enough that you yourself fall down. How is that not a foul?
Yeah,
when there's two players hit the deck,
yeah,
you got to call something.
Yeah, to me, that one was when I wasn't watching that part of the floor. I was watching Darius Brown, and then all of a sudden I'm looking. Of course, my head was spinning on that play because I've already begun typing out my "this game's gone final, Utah State loses" tweets and all that, and I'm going through my half-written Utah State just lost to UNLV article, and all of a sudden I'm watching this play, and my brain is just like, okay, Darius Brown hits a three, they're down by 1. Wait a minute, there's a foul. Wait, Osborne got fouled. Hold on a second. That means Osborne's going to the free throw line. Holy cow, Utah State can take the lead.
And the other thing, too, is that people are clearly ignoring UNLV had almost 9 seconds on the clock.
Yeah, they were able to
loads of time to get a good shot up.
Yeah, they can get whatever shot they want. They could have created a layup. They could have created a three-pointer. They ended up creating a mid-range shot, which, I mean, that happens on these last plays because it's hectic. But, yeah, like, to me, that, if you're going to complain, it's a lot more on that Mason Falstaff out of bounds, because I ain't got an answer for you there. Other than the referees bending the rules in ways that I don't think they should be, even though it maybe is fair, I don't think they should be doing that. That was the one where it's like, yeah, I ain't got nothing for you. But for that foul on Osborne, it's like, would I have called it a foul as a referee? Maybe not, but like it is, and the referees, that referee, his job is to watch for things like that, because he's on the baseline. That was the referee that called it, and his job is to be watching for guys battling the rebounds, and he saw one where he, and he would have had a good angle of it. Or he would have had a good angle watching Boone step into Osborne, hip check him. He'd have had the perfect angle to see it.
It's not illegal to box somebody out and prevent them from getting a rebound. It is illegal to send them to the floor.
Yeah, well, you have to get in front of them. You can't hit them from the side.
Yeah, you can't take them out on the side.
That's not boxing out. That's fouling. If he'd have been in front of him and Osborne runs him over and falls to the ground, that would have been a foul on Osborne.
Right.
But like I said, that foul on that play, I can understand you getting mad at it, but it is a foul by the letter of the law. Again, the Mason Falstaff out of bounds. Yeah, Aggie fans, you can thank the rest for that one, and also keep in mind, you get it from a lot of Aggie fans. It feels like every fan base does this. They say, "Oh, the referees hate us." I've seen BYU fans complain that the Big 12 refs hate them. Everyone on here says the Mountain West refs hate Utah State. And it's like, what about this game?
Yeah, this is a game that stands as evidence against that.
It's like every fan thinks the refs hate because they remember the calls that went against them. They forget the calls that went for them because, yeah, they're going to forget this one. The next time the Aggies lose on a controversial call, they won't remember this UNLV game where the referees got 2 pretty favorable whistles at the end of the game. And they still remember the St. Mary's game. Like, I still remember that. But it's like, this is part of why I just, like, when we say these calls go both ways, they really do.
Utah State moved up 4 spots in the AP poll, 6 spots in the coaches poll, 16th and 17th respectively. San Diego State still remains in the top 25 in the coaches poll at number 24, but Colorado State drops out of both polls. San Diego State is out of the AP poll. Those are the schools just on the outside looking in.
Yeah, Colorado State sitting at nominally 26th, San Diego State 27th. Nevada and New Mexico are also right about next to each other, probably around 30th, 31st.
Nevada and Boise State very close.
Oh, is Boise State in
the
there?
AP, both with 22, and then New Mexico at 14 votes.
Let me see exactly where I can pull up the full details. So, yeah, there would be Colorado State 26th, San Diego State 27th, Boise State, and Nevada tied at 32nd, and New Mexico 37th. If you're extending the votes all the way through everyone getting votes.
Right.
Obviously, just outside the top 25. So, yeah, Aggie's the lone ranked team, and they only jumped so high because everyone in front of them lost. 17, 18, and 19 lost. And they also leapfrogged Marquette, who went from 11th to 17th. And Oklahoma, they also lost. They were like 9th, I think. And Illinois. Illinois was 10. Oklahoma was 9. They both lost. And those are the 2 teams just ahead of the Aggies. But
yeah, a lot of shuffling in the top 25.
Yeah, there's so many teams lost. Like, I feel like most of the top 25 lost to an unranked team this week, which obviously helps the Aggies jump up because they didn't really have any impressive wins this week. Like, to AP voters. Obviously, winning at UNLV is impressive, but, like, not to the AP.
Right, you beat Wyoming and you beat UNLV, both average teams.
Yeah. So, but to them, all the teams in front of the Aggies lost, so they they jump up. So
The other big game that was going on at about the same time was New Mexico hosting San Diego State, and kind of a close first half. New Mexico goes on a 17-0 run to close out the half and take the lead, and then that momentum just continued into the second half, and they ran away, beating San Diego State 88-70. So as we mentioned, that pulls San Diego State out of the AP. They're still in the coaches poll, but a big win for New Mexico, and that's where Utah State's headed next.
Yeah, and that's where you can see the momentum of, it's kind of what Utah State did to Colorado State a little bit, except with Utah State, it happened later in the game. They don't win by quite as much. But a big run, it was like, was it 10-0, 11-0, that pushed them kind of over the top against Colorado State, gave them the momentum. New Mexico State, they kind of won up that, obviously 17-0, and it happened in the first half, but that home environment and playing with that kind of momentum, yeah, just absolutely skyrocketed them to the point where, yeah, San Diego State just couldn't keep up. Like, San Diego State's a much better offensive team these last couple of years, but even they couldn't keep up with what New Mexico was dealing.
Yeah, 88 points in their win over San Diego State, which is normally a really good defensive team.
Yeah,
but New Mexico was just on fire and could not be stopped.
They're not used to giving up near that many points. So, yeah, we'll see how Utah State handles that, where, UNLV was going off on their home court. They were playing very well on offense. New Mexico's probably going to do a very similar thing, but obviously we'll get into that a lot more tomorrow. The tricks to tomorrow's game.
Yes.
Where Utah State going to take on a very tough New Mexico team.
The other scores throughout the Mountain West over the weekend, Boise State beating Nevada at Lawler Center in Reno, 64-56. Boise State, scary team. Got to continue to watch out for them. Really sound defensive game for them. And then the other games Saturday night that we thought would be kind of snoozers turned out to be very exciting, with Wyoming barely winning in the last seconds over Fresno State, 68-67. And San Jose State literally hitting a game-winning three-point shot as time expires to beat Air Force 70-67.
Yeah, they may be lower-ranked teams, but they produce exciting basketball. So you like to watch those games. They're not the top teams in the Mountain West, where we're focusing on the Utah State, UNLV, San Diego State, New Mexico, Boise State, Nevada. Those are going to be exciting games. But, I mean, on the Boise State note, what have I been saying all non-conference? People are like, oh, Boise State, they're kind of falling apart a little bit, and they're going to lose, and they're going to collapse. I'm like, I've been beating that drum saying, watch out for this team. And, well, what do you know? They knocked off then-ranked Colorado State just like the Aggies did. They did it better than the Aggies did.
Yeah.
They held their home court. And then, in the more surprise, because Boise State winning at home, anybody winning at home is not going to be that much of a surprise in this conference, no matter who it's against and whatnot. But they go on the road. Tough place to play in Nevada. Knock off what I'd been thinking was beginning to be the most underrated team in the Mountain West. But Boise State now climbing the ranks and looking like a very good team.
Yeah, you talk about climbing. They are soaring up the net rankings. They're now up to 44. This was a team that was barely in the top 100 before conference play began, or leading into conference play, and they've just continued to play very well, and they're at 44 now, one behind Nevada, who's at 43. New Mexico's at 36. San Diego State falls to 25. Colorado State at 20. And Utah State, still the number one team in the net rankings in the Mountain West at 19.
Yeah, the AP poll, coaches poll, net, they all have Aggies as the best team in the country.
In the Mountain West.
In the Mountain West, excuse me.
There's some things they do that they're tops in the country, but
not that.
Not that.
A lot of other metrics, though, still have the Aggies like fourth or fifth best. I keep doing my average rankings, and the Aggies, they jumped up to fourth. They were sitting in fifth for a while. They've jumped up to considered fourth best. But, they've got a lot to prove, I think, still to some people. A lot of these computer metrics are like, Aggies are good. But they like New Mexico, San Diego State, and Colorado State a little bit better.
Utah State now 6-1 between Quad 1 and Quad 2. New Mexico, their next opponent, they're 2-3 in Quad 1 and Quad 2 combined.
Mention that Quad 1, Bradley becoming a Quad 1 loss suddenly. They used to they were sitting as a Quad 2 loss for a while, threatening to be a Quad 3 loss, I think, for half a minute. Well, maybe not quite Quad 3, but like they were trending looking to maybe jump out of the top 100, but they jump back in top 75. So
yeah, even though it was a loss, it's helping Utah State's resume by signaling, look, you played tough teams.
yeah, it's better to be 2-1 in quad 1 than 4-1 in quad 2.
Yes, very true. So, Utah State's resume being helped by obviously just winning. But,
that helps.
But also seeing some of their opponents do well and move up the ranks on their own. We mentioned Great Osaborg gets another Mountain West Player of the Week recognition for his week, just continuing to really dominate and play very, very well, even though a slow start, but a great second half. That's got to be a real key in their game at New Mexico. You can't have a slow start again. New Mexico is a better team than UNLV. Aggies will have to be a little bit more forceful in initiating what they want to do and imposing their will earlier rather than easing into the game, because New Mexico will be a more hostile environment and I think a more talented roster.
Yeah, unless you plan on getting either of what you got against UNLV, because with UNLV they allowed a hot start on defense. Against Colorado State, Utah State had a slow start on offense. But the keys there was against Colorado State, they slowed down the Rams' offense, and against UNLV, they kind of kept up sort of on offense. Unless you have one of those, which, again, when you're on the road in a super tough place like New Mexico, it's not a guarantee. I wouldn't bet on slowing down New Mexico very much, at least in their place. When they come to the Spectrum, maybe you can expect that a little bit more. But you're going to have a much better start on, a good start on offense, maybe akin to that UNLV, where you kind of got to go and you had a 40-point first half. But you can't be letting New Mexico get that same thing with that UNLV was getting, because New Mexico is better on offense than UNLV. They're going to keep that going. If you allow them to have 47, 48 points in the first half, they're going to do it again in the second half. And you're going to be giving up 95 points and losing that game. So they got to play a lot better on defense. They got to continue to hit 3-point shots on offense, because that's going to open things up and allow Osborne to keep cooking. So but to be honest, we just had these. I guess this game is kind of part of a 2-game stretch that I was kind of highlighting. They're playing at home against Wyoming, home against Colorado State. They had a road game against Air Force. That's a fairly easy 3-game stretch, all things considered. I know there's a ranked team in there, but it's at home.
Right.
It's about as easy as it's going to get in the Mountain West, but they're kind of about to start a 5-game stretch where it's a bit of whiplash, because you're going to have a quad 1 game at New Mexico. Then you get a quad 4 game. I don't know if you count that as a rest against Fresno State. And then quad 1 road game against Boise State. Come back, San Jose State. It's a quad 4 game. And then back to quad 1 at San Diego State. So this is a 5-game stretch where, yeesh.
Yeah, that's tough. It's tough.
Like, you got a couple of quad 4 ones that you think you can get, but my goodness, those are your 3 toughest road games all in a row.
All
basically.
stacked. So Utah State currently 4-0 in conference play. Boise State is 3-0 in conference play. San Diego State 3-1. Nevada 2-1. New Mexico 2-2. UNLV, Colorado State and UNLV at 1-2. So Colorado State is the bloom off the rose here for the Rams.
It is for now. They've played a really tough schedule where they went to Utah State, to Boise State. That was the other one. So they've played 2 of their tougher road games right at the outset. So they're going to start rolling things back up here as they get their offense kind of restarted, get their confidence back. They've stumbled. They'll come back and be dangerous. I mean, when some of those teams start going to Colorado State, when Utah State and Boise State have to go to Colorado State, that's where they can start to really ramp things back up. So,
yeah, Rams open conference play, hosting New Mexico, going to Utah State, going to Boise State. That's a tough 3 games to open up conference play.
Yeah, so it's just tricky. So they're not, obviously they weren't able to sustain, being 13th ranked in the country, but they're still going to be top 30 team. Unless the wheels completely fall off. But, having seen that Colorado State team, how good they were, even in a loss in the Spectrum, I have a hard time seeing them stay down for long.
So anything else on Utah State's win over UNLV before we switch topics?
Not particularly. I guess just with Osobor, it's just crazy just watching how dominant he's been. I mean, I posted some numbers on social media where just like how many different categories he's leading the Mountain West are like at the top. There's like, I think 7 different categories he's leading in. There's like another 12 where he's second or third. There's like another 10 or 11 where he's like top 10, where it's just like dominant player. He's entered player of the year discussions. I know Jaden Ledee is probably the front runner, is probably going to spend most of the year, but if the Aggies end up winning the conference, Great Ospor is probably going to have a couple of different, he's going to have several different trophies in his hands.
Yeah, and not only is Danny Sprinkle legitimately in conversation for Coach of the Year for the Mountain West, he's got to be in consideration for Coach of the Year in all of college basketball.
Oh, definitely. Like if the Aggies win the Mountain West and make the tournament, which they would, if they win the Mountain West, they'll make the tournament. Is there another coach who even has something close to Sprinkle's resume as far as Coach of the Year? I can't imagine. Maybe I'll have to look into some of the other coaches. They start putting out finalists and whatnot, but my goodness.
Yeah, considering what he's done with what he had to work with, amazing. Great Osobor wasn't the only one receiving recognitions around the state. Lowry Markkinen recognized as the Western Conference Player of the Week. Nice little recognition for him. Utah Jazz on a 5-game winning streak, playing very well. Exciting to see what they're doing, playing well against good teams, too. Beat Milwaukee, beat Denver, beat Philadelphia. So they're not just cleaning up on a soft schedule. They're playing really solid basketball. And Lowry Markkinen getting recognized as the Western Conference Player of the Week through all of that. Earlier, we had mentioned at the top of the podcast about an exciting night of high school basketball on Friday. And it featured a good team playing solid at home and taking care of a team that's still trying to find themselves after one of their key guys has been out from injury. Bear River beating Skyview 68-55. Not a huge surprise there. Ridgeline going on the road, taking on a previously undefeated Green Canyon Wolves, the top team in 4A, and Ridgeline taking it to them, 59-45, and knocking Green Canyon off their perch. And so they drop from number 1 down to number 4 in the RPI rankings, and Ridgeline is up to number 9.
Yeah, I think this was the surprise because for me, Ridgeline was beginning to lose its luster to me. I thought that they were, early on, I was thinking this is definitely one of the legit teams. They've got a guy in Jagger Frankham who's a very good post player, and Carson Cox playing for, and just a whole host of guys. But then they were starting to drop a few games to good teams, but still dropping a few games. And I was like, I don't know, man. And then this Green Canyon game just pops off the schedule. Like, holy cow, they beat him, and they beat him by that much at Green Canyon. Like, I think home teams won the 2 other games in Region 11 on Friday. But Ridgeline getting the road win and in dominant fashion, just shutting down Green Canyon team that's got multiple great offensive weapons. So it's a little surprising, and I think it has to I have to reset my expectations for where all these teams are going.
Yeah, is this just a bad night for Green Canyon? Did Ridgeline figure something out that other teams will be able to expose? Ridgeline looked like this. We were talking about this going into the game. They look like they have a good team, an experienced team, but lately they didn't seem to be connecting all the dots for their squad. Friday, they connected all the dots in a big way. And Green Canyon, they've been a good team. They've got experience on their side and talent, and just matched up, just didn't go well for them there in North Logan.
Yeah, I wonder if the matchup is a struggle, and I don't know. I'll have to maybe look further into just like does Green Canyon match up poorly with a team like Ridgeline that's got that length? Because the biggest problem for them was offensively they couldn't score. Ridgeline didn't exactly light it up on offense themselves. They only had 59 points. Does Green Canyon struggle to score against a team like Ridgeline? Because if they struggle with that kind of length, they're going to have a heck of a time against Logan, who's also got tons of length. But, a Bear River doesn't have as much length there. Mountain Crest kind of has it at a couple of positions. So I'll have to watch this, but I wonder if that's the case, then you might see them do really well against Skyview and Mountain Crest and Bear River, But maybe they continue to struggle against Logan or Ridgeline, who's got that length. But again, that's a suspicion that I'm going to have to keep an eye on there.
Then the third game of the night was the game of the night. I mean, earlier I'm tuning in because my kid was helping you with your broadcast.
Yeah, I try to make sure he's doing the camera right.
Camera.
He did a great job.
And so just keeping an ear and an eye on that one as I'm moving snow. And then early on, it was Mountain Crest in control of the game.
No, it was Logan in control.
Wasn't Mountain Crest early up by 10?
No, that was Logan.
Logan was. And then Mountain Crest fought their way back.
They were pretty close for a decent, the first half of the first quarter. Logan ends the first quarter up 23 to 14, 15.
Okay.
So Logan took control early and held control until fairly late in the second half, where Mountain Crest was. Whereas Mountain Crest made a couple of moves in the first half and third quarter to get it close, but then Logan would make those runs. It wasn't until later that Mountain Crest was really making Logan sweat.
Yeah, this game goes. So Jordan Child makes it's 2.2 on the clock. Was this the end of regulation? And when he makes they think that the Mountain Crest sets up thinking that Logan's going to shoot a 3.
That
was after the first
That
overtime?
was the end of the first overtime, I think. That was one of the overtimes. Where, Mountain Crest gets they got a floater from Rigdon Anderson, in the key. And they put 3.5 seconds on. They had to adjust the clock a little bit. But Logan has it on, full court away from their own basket, from their, offensive basket. They inbound it to midcourt, call a timeout so they can have a midcourt inbound. And they're everyone, including myself, think they're probably going to just try a 3 and pray that they make it because they're down by 2. It was 68-66, I think. But then they throw a lob to Will Parkinson instead. Just catch everyone off guard. This little backdoor cut, and Court Larson throws a, 35-foot alley-oop pass to Parkinson to tie the game up, and that ended I think it was the first overtime. So, you had the end of regulation, 60-60, then 68-68, and then I think it was 77-77. They just kept going. They wouldn't stop tying each other, and they'd keep one team would go up. And it happens several times both ways, where they make a big play, and you think, oh, the momentum's going this way. Logan gets an and 1. It's they're up by 3, all the momentum. And Mountain Crest drills a 3. Then maybe Mountain Crest makes their own big play. And they go up by 2 or 3. You think they're going to win, especially that going up 68-66 with 3.5 seconds. You got to go to the full court. You think you got the game won. Nope.
So then we go to the third overtime, and Mountain Crest at the free throw line for 2 free throws.
Yeah, they're up by 1.
Just under 9 seconds to go, and they missed the first free throw. And then we pick it up here on the broadcast.
8.9 seconds to go here in this one. Mitch Argyle imploring his guys to box out in case this one goes awry. Second free throw is up. It is also no good. Reed Olson gets the rebound. 5 seconds. Court Larson gives the Child into the lane. Put the shot. He makes it. He makes it.
Oh, wow. What a finish. Now, there was still a little bit of time left.
Yeah, it was wild because on the broadcast, you can go back and watch because it's kind of crazy because, the students kind of rush to the court because he makes the shot and then the time drains off. So students think it's over. They were not under the court because they're, super excited. They just won this region game, super triple overtime. They're all excited.
Thriller, yeah.
But the thing is, there was, you watch and live, there was definitely time on the clock when that ball went in. But you're not sure how much. You just know that you saw the shot go in, you look up, and time runs off the clock. So you know there's something left. So the referees got together immediately to figure out, okay, is there time left in this game? And they decided there was. And they had to get the students off the court. They had to clean up some confetti off the court that I don't even know where it came from. Just suddenly appeared on the court. I guess the students were carrying it for some reason, but yeah, they cleaned it up and so they had 0.7 seconds, and it didn't go anywhere because you have a full court and you have to throw it. I mean, there would have barely been time to catch and shoot, but they just had the ball tipped out of their hands. Again, it was like a 3/4 court pass. A couple of guys jumped up for it, got tipped, and it fell down. So, not the last play wasn't super relevant, but yeah, but that layup and that broadcast didn't do it justice. You can kind of hear me say it's a wild shot, but like when he runs into a Mountain Crest player, mind you, in these overtimes they called nothing. They
let the players play.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the floater that Rigdon Anderson shot that put him up like 68-66, there was probably a foul on that shot. But they just didn't call anything, which I kind of liked. They just let him play. But there was contact. I don't know if it was a block charge, nothing. But Jordan Child just puts up this, I don't know, it almost looks like he threw it up almost behind his head, where he just throws it up toward the rim, and it goes in. And you're just like, all right.
Okay.
And you heard my reaction. It was insane. Whereas I did not expect that to go in. But yeah, that gave him 33 points. That's his career high. He had like 8 rebounds, 4 steals, and 4 blocks. I mean, he had a spectacular game. Of course, one of the Mountain Crest players dang near got a triple-double. I think it was Joseph Hunsaker had 12 points, 8 rebounds, 9 assists, and then like 5 steals himself. So, good game.
Yeah,
good game.
Incredible game. Definitely worth going back and watching on Cache Valley Daily if you want.
I've already gone back and watched the ending in overtime. And I also went back and recorded the stats again just to double check, 'cause that's where I got a lot of those numbers from. So it's still giving me goosebumps listening back to that, having already re-witnessed it like 5 times now. You remember those games.
Yeah. And Logan's had that's like their, if I'm not mistaken, their second game that came down to the wire, winning in the last second.
They have 3 game-winning shots.
Oh, 3.
Court Larson actually has 2 of them. He had the assist on this one. He had a game-winning shot against Woods Cross. They won that one 55-53, hit a floater. They stole a pass. Woods Cross thought they were going to have the last shot. He stole a pass.
On the inbound.
Puts up a floater. Then he had the game-winning shot against Weber. It was actually put-back layup. Child actually missed a potential game-winning layup. Court Larson went up, got the rebound, put it back in. In that one not too long ago. And then, this one, Jordan Child. In both of those occasions, the game would have gone to overtime if they don't make those shots. But in this case, you make it, you win. You miss it, you lose. So, a little different. And obviously, it wasn't triple freaking overtime.
So the latest basketball RPI for 4A has Logan at number 3. So they're now the highest rated team out of Region 11. Green Canyon at number 4. Bear River at number 6. Ridgeline at number 9. Mountain Crest 14. And Skyview at 17.
You have 4 teams in the top 10. These teams are good.
Very good basketball. And for girls, Ridgeline has now moved into the number 1 spot.
As they should be.
Green Canyon is number 4, Skyview number 6, Mountain Crest 11, Bear River 14, and Logan at 25. Now, looking at future schedules, is Logan not playing region games for girls basketball?
See, I was thinking, because I saw the same thing, but they played Friday. I wasn't sure if they're going to play any. But then they played a game. So, I meant to ask Mitch Argyle about that because, earlier I saw there wasn't any region games for them on the schedule.
Yeah, because when I look at this week, I don't see teams that if Logan would be on the schedule, other teams. I don't see Logan playing, and I don't see some select teams playing either.
Yeah, but I think that might just be something wrong with the scheduling because I don't think they had Logan going up. I forget who they play. I'm pretty sure Logan. I remember seeing a score for Logan. So I know they played.
Yeah.
But that was somewhere it's looking weird where suddenly they didn't have games on their schedule. But I'm pretty sure they're still. It'd be weird if they didn't. But
because I thought I'd heard from. Maybe it was when they did the Ridgeline girls basketball broadcast. They mentioned that Ridgeline would not play Logan in region play, and maybe that's where I'm hearing that. But the Logan played Mountain Crest.
Yeah, so I don't know.
Oh wait, no, sorry, I'm looking at boys basketball there. You gotta look at the girls' scores. They would have played on Thursday.
Yeah. They would have played either Skyview or Bear River.
Skyview played Bear River. And Green Canyon played Ridgeline. I don't see a score.
Would they have played Mountain Crest?
They would have played Mountain Crest.
I guess that's right, because usually the boys and girls are playing the same teams.
Just in different venues, yeah.
So, yeah, there's a score against, Logan. Mountain Crest and Logan played each other. Wasn't a close game, but...
All right, must be something funky with the schedule I'm looking
Yeah,
at.
because I had the same thing. That's why I almost meant to ask, because it was like, it'd be weird if Logan just stopped halfway through the season.
Yeah. Okay. Well, girls games pick up again on Tuesday. Boys on Wednesday.
Yep, got a full week this time. We only had the one game for, I think a couple of teams played earlier in the week.
Yeah, a few of them did. They scheduled some early week games.
Yeah, some like last second non-region games. We're gonna get a full week of region games. It's gonna be the same thing every time where I say this is a good slate of basketball games. And then the next time, this is a good slate of basketball games.
Because there's so many good teams, you can honestly say that.
When you have 5 teams that have 9 wins, and like the worst team of those 5 is like 9-4. Like, you're going to have 2 guaranteed good games every single time. So, like they said, you're going to have, Ridgeline and Bear River and Mountain Crest and Green Canyon. I forget who plays each. I know Logan's playing Skyview on Wednesday. So you've got those 4 teams that are all in the middle. It's like, about clearing my desk with water. You're going to have those 4 teams all in the middle of the standings fighting against each other. And it's just, there's going to be some jostling. Logan's going to get knocked off by somebody. Because Green Canyon just got toppled from the top. Now Logan's probably going to face somebody get toppled. Maybe they'll lose to Ridge. I mean, they barely survived Mountain Crest, who were sitting there at like 4th or 5th in the standings coming into region play. And like Logan at home barely beat Mountain Crest. And they've got some matchup problems they may face. Because Caden Hess was eating them alive.
Yeah.
You better bet Jagger Frankham's going to, do well against that defense as well. But they still managed to win, so we'll see how everything goes there.
Speaking about doing well against opposing defenses, Jordan Love for the Green Bay Packers was feasting on the Dallas Cowboys in the wild card playoff game Sunday in Dallas. Jordan Love's first playoff game as a starter. A lot of young receivers and other young players on that Green Bay team, but they looked like savvy veterans by making plays kind of like this one.
Here's the snap. Jordan Love looks downfield, throws off the back foot to the end zone. Touchdown! Don Tavian Wicks on the post, and the Packers lead it 20-0.
That wasn't his only exciting play. He had a few others like this one to Musgrave.
Play action and bootleg, left, half bootleg. Now throw back the other way. He's got him wide open. Down the right side. Musgrave, end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! Luke Musgrave! And a dagger!
And then, Dallas tried to make a little bit of a game of it in the fourth quarter, but still, Green Bay, too much to handle. And ultimately, this was your final call.
Jordan Love takes and drops to a knee, and that will do it. The youngest team in the NFL, the little team that could, came into Big D and take out the Cowboys 48-32.
Yeah, just the score makes it look a lot closer than it really was, because the Packers were leading like 48 to. They're up by like 20-something points.
Yeah.
In that fourth quarter, it was like Dallas. They score like 2 or 3 touchdowns in that fourth quarter to make it start to look kind of interesting. There was a moment there where there's like, under 2 minutes to play, where it's like, okay, there's a world in which they score a really quick touchdown, get an onside kick, maybe get another touchdown. They would have had to score another 16 points. Touchdown plus 2-point conversion plus onside kick plus touchdown.
Yeah.
And they had like no timeouts at that point, so there's zero room for error. And the first moment they make an error, the game was basically over. But yeah, Jordan. And so it almost looks like Dak Prescott, plays super well because he gets 403 yards, 3 touchdowns. But he also had 2 interceptions, and he threw the ball 60 times. So,
yeah, and one of those interceptions was a pick six.
Yeah, so it's like it was one of those games where he gets tons of yards because they're playing from behind the entire second half. So he threw the ball 60 times. Jordan Love, he only threw 21 passes, but he ends up with a dang near perfect passer rating on the day. Perfect passer rating is 158.3. He had a 157.2. His total QBR was 99.3. Max is 100. Dak Prescott's QBR was 43.4. So just tell you a little bit about that. And, in only 21 passes, he has 272 yards and 3 touchdowns. So not a bad game for Jordan Love. Of course, he had a lot of help. Aaron Jones going for 118 yards and 3 touchdowns himself. But just an overall good game for the Packers. They just run out to a big lead. Their defense holding Dallas to 7 points in the first half. A defense that's been not too great this season, but going to halftime with a 27-7 lead, that's enough to really boost you in the playoffs, and then winning the third quarter 14-9 just about seals it at that point.
Yeah, and fellow Mountain West player Romeo Doubs, with a solid outing as well, 151 yards and a touchdown for Green Bay. So I was thinking of this during the game. Like I am no Dallas Cowboys fan, never have been.
Not too many people around here are.
But I know some people who are, actually. And so I know some people who are Dallas Cowboys fans and Aggie fans. And I would just – how would Sunday have played out for them as they're watching this game? You want to cheer on Jordan Love, but you've got your team, the Dallas Cowboys, that don't look good.
I think for them they would have preferred this to be, maybe a – flip script a little bit, but maybe like a valiant defeat for Jordan Love. That's probably what they would prefer, where Jordan Love looks really good, but like somebody else makes the game losing plays.
Yes.
As opposed to Dallas just getting crushed in this game, and Jordan Love, getting all the. I mean, obviously you can be happy for Jordan Love. It's kind of a silver lining, but when if you're a lifelong Cowboys fan, it's cold comfort that the former Aggie played really well. Dallas terrible again. I mean, Dallas was undefeated at home throughout the year. They hadn't lost. For all the kind of up and downs they had at points in the season, they hadn't lost at home. We're the 2 seed in the NFC. And they get trounced by a team that was barely 500 going into the playoffs. That Green Bay had to win on the last game of the regular season to get into the playoffs. And that's the team that just rips into you. Like nobody that I talked to or heard, thought the Packers were going to win this game. They were writing it in as pen.
Oh, yes.
As a Cowboys win. And the Packers just took that and said, no. Like it's not that they just upset them. It's that they were way better. That was a surprising thing.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, and if I'm not, then you correct me. But Green Bay with the win will travel to Detroit for the next round. Is that correct?
I was talking to my dad about this. I couldn't remember if they. Okay, yeah, because they don't have like this.
Detroit win and a Dallas loss. Detroit gets to host the next round.
Well, because what it is that in the NFL, and I was just double checking this, looking at the schedule, and I think it's confirming. Because I'm looking at ESPN, their division round games in the NFL. Lowest seed plays the highest seed in the next round. Like it's not like this clean bracket where winner of this team plays this team. It's they basically reseed it, where San Francisco was going to get the lowest seeded team, the worst seeded team in the second round, which is the Packers. So the Packers will play San Francisco on Saturday at 6:15 Mountain Time.
Okay.
So. And the Lions, they're waiting on Tampa Bay, Philadelphia.
Ah, I see.
Because those are going to be the next couple of lowest seeds for them.
Okay, so Green Bay at San Francisco. We'll have that here on The Fan. We've been broadcasting all of these NFL playoff games, and we'll continue all the way through the Super Bowl. So 106.9 FM, 1390 AM is where you can tune in to hear those games. We'll see if Jordan Love has more magic in him, along with the rest of those Green Bay Packers. A very formidable opponent in San Francisco. 49ers looking very, very solid up on both sides of the football.
Yeah, that's a completely different animal. Dallas was – the NFL is kind of weird, and there wasn't really any dominant teams. But the closest you're going to get are Baltimore and San Francisco.
Yes.
And a 7 seed has never won the Super Bowl. They've only been around for like 2-3 years, but I shouldn't even double check that. I just assume there hasn't been a 7 seed won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but there's a history of teams coming out of the wild card and making it into the Super Bowl and even winning the Super Bowl.
Yeah, if they keep the momentum going, doesn't matter how some of those weaknesses you have in the regular season, they'll just randomly disappear during a playoff run, and suddenly you're like, yeah, this team's bad on defense, but they just did that, and they're mediocre on offense, but they're putting up 48 points. That was I think that was the Packers' record for points in at least the wild card round. So it's like, I don't know, sometimes you can have those magical runs, but wouldn't put your hopes in that. Not yet, at least.
Yeah, not yet, at least. Well, I think that's about going to do it for us on our special edition of
Full
the
Court Press Podcast, special edition.
Yes. Too much stuff going on between the Utah State Aggies, high school basketball, Jordan Love, everything going on throughout the Mountain West Conference. So had to get it all in today. And Tuesday we'll have a full live show, recap some of these points, but also focus more on their matchup against New Mexico, and also Utah Jazz recapping their game on Monday night as well.
By the way, one last note, former Utah State defensive star Kelsey Kafusi getting drafted by the Portland Thorns in the NWSL draft.
Oh.
Second round.
Nice.
So I've got an Aggie in the NWSL, so another Aggie in the pros. So congrats to Kelsey there.
All right, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening to our podcast. And find other podcasts on 106.9 FM. Excuse me, not 106.9 FM, 106.9thefan.com, and on 106.9 The Fan mobile app.